Hey guys, Wrestling Throwdown here. I'm Haley, and I got quite a bit of stuff to talk about today. I don't know how long this video is going to be. If it's too long, I'll cut it into two parts. Like maybe I'll do the second part tomorrow or something like that. Just kind of depends. I really kind of want to get this done in like an hour though. I know I have a lot of stuff to talk about. I have two TNAs to talk, or no, not two TNAs. Two NXTs and two SmackDowns to talk about. Plus, I wanted to talk about 3 interviews. So, I mean, we'll see where we go from there. I also want to talk about TNA. I know you guys probably have noticed that I haven't done video since Raw. Well, that's because it looks like TNA is just going to do like best moments of the year for the next few weeks. And I felt like they were kind of pointless to talk about just because, I mean, they're just talking about stuff that I already talked about. So it's kind of just pointless. So I'm taking a break from TNA until I get to its new channel, January 1st or whatever. So there's that. So I guess I won't be doing a TNA video for a few weeks. So sorry about that, TNA lovers. Maybe it'll probably be, once it comes back, it'll be better than ever, though. So I have faith in it. Alrighty, I think I actually want to talk about first the Stone Cold Steve Austin's podcast with Vince McMahon. Sorry, I can't talk today. He talks a lot about a lot of stuff. He talks about the WWE Network first, and Steve. This is what I love about Austin. He wanted a straight answer for everything, and he was just like, he didn't want to fool around or anything like that. He wanted the answer right then and there. And that's what I love about him, because he was just like, Vince, I'm not going to let you, just tell a whole bunch of random stories and not even say anything about the point I'm asking you about. Like, he was just like, I want to know now. And he asked how Vince thought the network was doing. And I actually agreed with Vince on this. I actually agreed with Vince on a lot of stuff he said, to tell you the truth. And even though Vince has a big ego, I mean, WWE would be nothing without him. Whether you like him or not, I think there's something wrong with you, though, if you don't like him. Because even if he drives you nuts sometimes, like me and my brother both said that we were going to cry our eyes out if he ever dies, because, like, it's just no. Because it's not even like, sometimes we know he can be an asshole and stuff like that, and we know he's kind of like does stuff that we're not happy with and everything, but you also have to, I mean, it wouldn't be the same without him. Like, all this great stuff, this, Attitude Era and all that stuff wouldn't have happened without him, and Austin and all that. So whether you hate Vince or not, I feel like you have to respect him. But obviously Austin and Vince do have this chemistry and everything too, so that's what made this podcast so amazing. But anyways, back to what I was saying. He said the network he thought it was doing good. And he said that that it does need some other stuff, added to it and everything. He made like a Netflix comparison, and he pretty much said not everything is going to skyrocket right off the bat, and it's going to take some time, obviously, for them to get some subscribers, like more than what they want. And I kind of agree with that, because I remember Netflix wasn't that popular at first. Like, within the first year, it really wasn't that popular. And then once they started adding more stuff and everything like that, and more people heard about it, more people got it. And more, so I have a feeling that, especially with the network, I feel like if pay-per-views completely go off, online, and they get rid of the streams, I think more and more people are going to have to do the network. And also, he hasn't even put up all the stuff that people really want to see yet. So, like the older Raws and everything like that, and older Nitros and everything. So, he's still got quite a bit of good stuff that people really want to see. that hasn't been up there. So, and I have a feeling it's not really a money issue or anything like that. It's just that I have a feeling that so many people can get all this stuff that the network has right now for free pretty much, because they can go on YouTube, they can obviously stream from pay-per-views, go to streams and stuff. So once they get rid of all that stuff and they add more stuff that like people haven't seen and they can't find online, I have a feeling they'll get more. Because even Netflix too, like their movies and stuff, a lot of the movies were on, like I could find on YouTube and stuff like that, and the shows and stuff. Once they started obviously adding more stuff and everything and changing it every month, people got more interested in it. So I agree with Vince. I feel like, for right now it's good. I don't know what the view count is. I don't know if they even mentioned that yet, to tell you the truth. But yeah, I think it'll be fine. Give it like at least another, I wouldn't even say 6 more months. Like, yeah, I would say about half a year. Give it another 6 more months and we'll see where it's at there, because I think it'll be much better. And then he talks about the roster. And Vince talks about grabbing the brass ring. Like, how Austin obviously was that guy back in the day to obviously do that. And he goes, what about this current roster? Who do you think has it? And Vince goes, to tell you the truth, things are a lot different from what they were back in the day. He goes, a lot of people are afraid that they're going to fail and, disappoint themselves. So they're not going to try and, reach for the sky and everything like that. And he said, like, pretty much like the last person that's ever done something like, obviously go up to the top was John Cena. And he said that there are some guys, the younger guys, that are obviously, he says he thinks that they're starting to get up there. And he named Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, and Bray Wyatt, and I thought that was perfect. I was just like, those were the 4 guys I would have picked too. And he pretty much said that those guys are the ones that obviously are the future pretty much, and they'll do something. He thinks they'll make an impact, And I agree, especially Dean and Seth and Bray. Reigns, I mean, I feel like he's another John Cena, and that's what's so funny too. Like, I like John Cena, and everyone hates John Cena, but they love Roman Reigns, and I think they're extremely similar. So it's just like, yeah. The thing I don't like with Roman Reigns is that they try to say he's better than everybody, and they're trying to say that he's like the best on the roster right now, and I just kind of laugh at that, and I go, but yet you guys think, John Cena can't wrestle. I go, that doesn't even make sense. That's why I hate Roman. And I don't know, I just can't get into him. Like, I think John Cena's a better talker than him. And I mean, we'll see. I think they would have a good match together, though. I can't wait until those two have a one-on-one match. Then he talks about Cesaro. He says Cesaro doesn't have it, and that's why he's not getting a push. And he talks about him not having charisma and everything like that, and not being able to talk that great. And I'm like, well, I think he has charisma. I said, I think he was fine. And, it was funny. Austin was just like, oh, why did you put him with Heyman? Everyone was just starting to like him, and then you put him with Heyman then, and, pretty much exactly what me and Joe have been saying. They ruined Cesaro. They had a moment where they could have done it, and then they ruined it. So now they're screwed, and they can't do it until until they, I guess, get him hyped up as much as, like, bring back the swing. They took that out. That's one of the reasons, I think, why they say he doesn't have charisma, even though I think he does. But I did agree with one thing that Ben said that he doesn't have, and that's his talking. I'm not going to say that Cesaro's a bad talker, because I don't think he's a bad talker, but are there better talkers than him right now that need to get pushed? more than him right now that are need to go up higher than him? Yes. Should he be the number one guy to get a push right now? No. But that doesn't mean that he shouldn't get pushed. I think he deserves better than what they're giving him. I think he at least deserves a title. But because like I said, I think Dean's but obviously more up there than him, and Seth is, and Roman Reigns and Bray Wyatt, they're obviously all, I think, better than him, but that doesn't mean that he's bad, and that doesn't mean that he doesn't deserve a push. So, and then he talks about CM Punk, and he apologizes to CM Punk. And he says that he hopes to work with him, and that he says that him getting the email or the fax or whatever he got on his wedding day was a coincidence. I go, Vince, you were so full of shit. And that was the one thing, like, I was just like, no, there's no way. That was not a coincidence. You planned that. And whether Vince planned it, I don't think Vince planned it, because they even said, and I'll talk about this a little bit more in the CM Punk had another interview with Colt Cabana. It was a couple of days ago, and I just watched that. And he talks about the Vince apology and everything like that too. But this was such full of crap. Like, Vince knows that it wasn't a coincidence. And whether he knew about it or not, I don't think he did know. Maybe he didn't know. But the thing is, Triple H knew, and Triple H planned it, because Triple H is an asshole. And I love Triple H. He's going to always be one of my favorites. But it's just, he's always had a thing. He's always had a hatred for CM Punk, and I think that's why he did it intentionally. He was just like, obviously he's in charge of talent relations right now. So, at least he was the last time I checked. I don't know if he is still now. I think he is, though. He should be. So, and Vince still has control over it. I think, obviously, the last call and everything, but Triple H, I don't know, though. I think actually maybe Triple H does have the final call on it still. I don't know. I don't even know if he does need Vince's approval for anything about talent and stuff like that. Yeah, I don't know if he does. I'm not really sure. I feel like he would need to, because Vince is still, in charge of WWE. He's the COO. So I feel like Vince should still have the final answer and everything, But for anything that goes on like that, like firing wrestlers and stuff like that, releasing them. But I don't know. But yeah, I did think that was crap. But he said that he thinks he's going to get back together with them. And Austin talked about this too. And Austin said, when I left and everything like that, we got back together and everything like that. So he goes, I guess they both pretty much agreed that Punk eventually, when the time is right, and if they can both talk. See, that's the thing. If CM Punk does come back, and I don't think he will, but the very, 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 very small chance that he could maybe come back someday is if Triple H needs to get the hell out of the picture, and it's just between CM Punk and Vince. Because if Triple H tries to butt in, it's over. It's not going to work. I think Vince is the one that's going to have to be it's going to have to be a one-on-one. And I feel like he's going to have to call him. He's going to have to come to his house. They're going to have a nice separate meeting together. Something like that's going to have to happen. And Vince is actually going to have to make a sincere apology, going to either his house or making a phone call. And like I said, I'll talk more about that when I talk about the CM Punk interview. But Triple H is just, they talked a little bit about Randy Savage, if he would ever be in the WWE Hall of Fame, and McMahon said soon, like he wouldn't give a exact time thing. And too, that's exactly what he said about the network too, going to the UK, he goes, Austin asked him, he was just like, oh, are you, um, what's the exact date, that they're going to actually have the network? And Vince just goes, well, I don't want to give them an exact date because then they'll hold it against me if I'm wrong. Because he goes, I want to say it's going to be by the first of next year, but he goes, I don't want to and that's kind of smart for Vince. He doesn't like to give like a right away answer because if he does, people will start yelling at him, and like hold it against him. And I agree with that. People are just the fans can go a little nuts sometimes. But I would be kind of mad too if the network wasn't out though. If I was in the UK. But yep. And that's pretty much it for the interview. And I mean, they talk about, the rivalry with Austin and Vince and everything like that. And Vince talks a little bit about how he grew up in a trailer park and everything like that. And that might have helped, he's like a common, simple guy and everything. And he pretty much says, people, look at me and they see a business guy and I'm real, He also talks about his ego too. I liked that. He said that his ego was obviously big, and we all know Vince's ego is big. There's quite a bit of wrestlers that their ego is big, but I liked that he admitted that. Alrighty. Now the CM Punk interview. This was part 2 of it. This one wasn't as long, and this one actually, to tell you the truth, I think it was a little bit bullshit. They really just talked about the most random stuff. Like, they didn't even really, go through emails. I guess, he pretty much said that, Cole Cabana said, there was too many emails or something like that, and he didn't think there were going to be so much. And, a lot of it was bullshit and everything like that. And so he's just like, I'll take a few that I really liked. It's pretty much what he did. So I'll talk about the few things that I got out of it that I liked, and then I want to talk about that's I think worth talking about his name and stuff like that. CM Punk kind of talks about how this is the email thing. He says he received plenty of emails addressed to Phil and instead of CM Punk. And it's funny because if you read watched the first part of the interview, Punk even says that he does not like it when people address to him as Phil unless you know him, you're close to him, you're his friend. And he goes, I still want fans, obviously to say Punk, because this is the thing with his name too. He says he does own the name, and he goes, I think maybe, he goes, I get a lot of tweets and everything that say, remove your name and stuff. It's WWE name, you shouldn't have that, blah, blah, blah. And he says that it is my name. I've had it since, I think he said he was about 14. So he says he did own that name, and so he gets to keep it, and WWE has no say in it. So he says, obviously, if fans refer to him as Phil, he will completely ignore you because he thinks that it is just inappropriate. This is a good one. He talks about the chants about his wife, the people chanting CM Punk to his wife. And it was funny because he didn't want it was funny. Colt Cabana kept trying to get him to say AJ and everything. And I don't know why. It's just we all know he's talking about AJ. I don't know why you have to get him to talk. And he called her Ape. And I was just he kept saying Ape, Ape, Ape. That's what Punk was saying. And I was just what the hell? I'm why do you keep calling her Ape? And then I was just oh, I guess because her real name's April, and I guess he's shortening it. Okay. I was just I couldn't get that for a few minutes, but I was just why is he calling her Ape? I thought it was funny though. And then and then Colt Cabana goes, which is, and then he goes AJ, and he just kind of pauses, and he's just why does it matter? But he says that they're inappropriate, and he does not like the chants. He says that they need to start chanting his name or her name instead of his name, because it's stupid. He thinks it's weird That's the main thing. He thought it was extremely weird. And he goes, I get that people, want to keep my name alive and everything like that, but he goes, sometimes it just gets to the point where it's just weird. And he's like, and this is another thing too, he keeps taking shots at Chris Jericho. I don't know what's going on with him. If him and Chris Jericho got into a fight, maybe Chris wanted to get him on his podcast and CM Punk didn't because he knew Chris was going to use it and then talk about it and, tell everybody. So maybe that's why he's not talking, because he took a shot at him in the first part too. And now he keeps saying like stuff like, he just keeps saying like really crazy stuff and everything like that. And I don't know if like they're just in a bad spot right now, and they're just, because I know they used to be friends and everything like that, but and Punk also said that he's not going to come back for WrestleMania, even if it's the main event. And of course, it's no longer fun. We know that. This is a good one. I don't know what the rule is for WWE for like how much notice you have to give for time off, especially if I'm sure like if you're just like a jobber or something like that, you can take pretty much time off anytime you need. It doesn't really matter. But if you are obviously a main star like CM Punk, I'm not sure if it's like 2 months or whatever. He says he gave him 8 months in advance. His friend was getting married and he was not missing it. And he says he reminded them like every month and stuff like that. And he says, oh, I see you still have my day on the calendar. He goes, I need you to mark it off. And he kept like saying it every single time he's seen it and everything, every month or whatever. They got a new schedule or whatever. And they kept saying that they needed them. And it was in December. Yeah, it was in December. And it was a pay-per-view, and that they needed them for the pay-per-view. And it's just like, he gave you 8 months in advance. Don't you think maybe like 3 or 4 months before you would plan ahead and be like, okay, what can we do to write him off? Should we just, write him off for that day, and be like, oh, we can book like this match or whatever and have him, I don't know, like, have him like get written off the week before or something like that and then come back the week after. I mean, it's not rocket scientist. I mean, it's a simple WWE writer could obviously think of this. I mean, it's not. And they just kept saying that they had him booked to wrestle the Shield 3-on-1. This is where it gets interesting. I posted a meme. I think it was like 2 hours ago. I don't know if you guys seen it, but it's hilarious. And you would only get it if you've seen part 2. He pretty much, he's getting ready and everything like that. And I guess like 2 hours before their match was going on, like a couple people went up to Punk, Matt Hayes included, and they were just like, hey, we're going to have you go over. Like, obviously, have him win. But we need you to make Reigns look really strong. And I love how it's not just like the Shield, it's just Reigns. And I think that's why Punk was just kind of like, whatever. And it was funny because they just kept saying it like a person, he said like a couple people went up to him like every hour. They were like, yeah, you need to make Reigns look really good. Like, make sure you make Reigns look really good. And then Punk eventually said, you know what would make them look really good is if they beat me. And they go, no, Vince wants you to go over. He wants you to win. And Punk was just like, this makes no sense. He goes, these are young guys. They need it more than me. He goes, I don't need this. They need it. And that's what's awesome too. Punk was just like, I want to put them over. And they would not let him be put over. But eventually he did get to his friend's wedding. I think he only got there for like 5 or 10 minutes to say hi, and then he had to leave. Like, it was like crazy. He says like he had to get a plane ride and then he had to fly back and everything. He said it was crazy. then he addresses Vince's apology. He says that it wasn't sincere. He says, this was his quote. He goes, "You're sorry? Great. Be a man and call me." That's pretty much exactly what he said. And he said that he knows where he lives. Vince knows where Punk lives, and he has his number. And I mean, so he says he says he lives like 10 minutes away from his house too. So he says he could like come over anytime, knock on my door and everything, and I would be happy to talk to him. He goes, the only reason that he apologized on there was so the TV was in front of him, and so, he would get, the sympathy and everything like that. And to tell you the truth, that could definitely be true. I mean, like, I like Vince and everything like that, definitely, but Punk he was not taking it. He was just like, this is bullshit. He goes, he's not sorry. If he was sorry, he would be a man. And he would say it to my face. So, yeah, it was crazy. What else did he talk about? He pretty much apologized to the fans. He said that, I'm sorry if there is, actually, this is the last thing I want to talk about. This, and then I'll talk about the apology, because the apology was like the last thing he talked about. What was it? Wizard World was going to pay him 20,000 hours, 4 hours for just, sitting in a chair signing contracts. And WWE needed him for the Mexican tour. And he says the check needs to be at least 20,000 if I'm going to do this. And they go, okay. And it was for 5,000 only. I'm like, are you serious? Even I would be pissed. Like, I was just like, one, that is like, obviously that's a lot of money to some people, because roughly, on an average job, maybe you make like, I don't know, like a 200 to 300 a week. I don't know. It depends on how much you make an hour, and how much you work. But it's just like for 5,000, and he says this too. He goes, if you wanna, if you think that's great, work for Vince McMahon. That's exactly what he wants to work for him. And he says he knows I know what I'm worth, and I know I'm worth a lot more than that. And I agree too. I was just like 5,000, like, yeah, that's a lot to some people, but like obviously like a main eventer, like Punk and everything like that, 5,000 when Wizard World is offering you 20,000, that is bullshit. He kept saying like, fix this check, I'm done with this. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. My thing's going crazy today. Alrighty. So, but I mean, would you rather sit on your ass for 4 hours and get 20,000, or would you rather wrestle, break every single bone in your body? Well, obviously, Punk was hurt. He already had broken ribs. He already had a staph infection and all that stuff. So, what would you rather do? To tell you the truth, I mean, it's crazy. So, I mean, that's what he said. He's worth. Okay, so and then the last thing he said was about his fans. He pretty much says, "I'm sorry if I've offended you or anything like that." And he goes, "I'm sorry, if you really, wanted to see me live and everything like that, and wanted to meet me." And he goes, "You still can, just come up to me and ask politely." And he goes, "And I'll definitely take a picture with you and everything and meet you. I have no problem doing that." He goes, "Just as long as you do it politely and address me by Punk and not address me by Phil, because he says that's rude. And introduce yourself." He says, like, that's the number one thing. Like, introduce yourself, say your name. Don't just say, like, "Hey, Phil, can I have a picture?" He's shot across the room. He says a fan did that. And he just looked at AJ and he just started laughing. They both started laughing. And I probably would too. Like, that's just ridiculous. Some fans are just so disrespectful. It's just like, come on. Like, just because he's not working anymore and he's, he has a lot of free time doesn't mean that you can still be an asshole to him, because he'll be an asshole right back. And he says that's why a lot of people say that they've had bad experiences with him, is because of how they have approached him. So, alrighty. And then he says, yeah, and he pretty much just says, if you support him, great. If not, well, he says, unfollow me from Twitter and do something you do love doing, and everything. And he was really awesome about it. He was just like, I'm not going to judge you or anything. He goes, if you hate me, that's fine, He goes, you're allowed to hate anyone you want, you go, and everything. And he goes, I don't think you're a bad person for it or anything. He goes, just, unfollow me from Twitter. He goes, you don't need to tell me that you hate me, and, because he says then you just look like an asshole, because he says most of his fans, well, not his fans, his haters, will tweet him awful things, especially to AJ too, and say like, oh, you should dump him and get a divorce because he'll leave you just like it left. That's so ridiculous when I heard that. And they have grammar issues. Like he says, like they can't type or anything. Or I guess type because they're in, or text or anything, I guess whatever you're using Twitter on, but he says like they can't use correct spelling or anything like that. So alrighty, and that's pretty much it. Alrighty. And now one more interview and then I can blaze through. Now the NXT and SmackDown, I'm really not going to talk much about. This was pretty much just about interviews anyway, so it probably is going to be a lot truer than what I thought it was going to be. He talks about, this is what I wanted to talk about last week. This was a couple weeks ago. Oh, that was... That's funny. Okay. He talks about the Shield. And he talks about, I wish I would have wrote this down, but I'm trying to, not take as many notes. Okay. This is what I got the most out of this. He talks about the Shield, and this is for all the haters that are still butthurt over the Shield. I want you to listen. Turn up the volume right now because I want you to listen to this. And you need to stop calling Seth a sellout, because this is the truth. He was in complete himself. He was in his full self right now. He was not in character when he said this. Obviously he wasn't in character because of what he said about the Shield and why, obviously, what he said. and Joe and me had different opinions on this, so I actually kind of wish I had Joe on here right now. Joe didn't like that they focused on the Shield. Well, I don't think he really like hated it, but he says he wanted them to talk about the Wyatts. And I said that I loved that they focused on the Shield because it'll get the people who are still so obsessed about this whole heel turn, you know, to chill out. And this is what he said. You know, I tried to tell people, especially the little kids, like I'm trying to talk to like 14-year-olds on here and stuff like that in different groups, and they'll try to say like, oh, Seth is a sellout and everything like that. Someone blocked me because I was a fan of Seth Rollins. They didn't know I was, which is ridiculous because my profile pic is of him, so I would think that they would know I'm a huge fan of Seth Rollins. But anyways, that's not the point. But it's just some of these kids and everything that are so immature, they don't get it. So this is exactly what he said. He said that he says they wanted to start them to split up in the very early 2014. And Seth said, no, that is a horrible idea. I do not want to do that. And all three of them were like, hell no, we're not splitting up. And so Seth said that he went to Vince McMahon, and they all three did, I guess. And at least him and Dean Ambrose, yeah. And no, it actually does say all three of them. Okay. He says that there was a major time that they wanted them to obviously break up, and he said like they wanted them to be prepared for it and everything, but he says like people liked us, and he goes, we need a babyface run, and they agreed with it. Vince said that he would go with it, and that's pretty much it. I mean, and they did it and everything like that. And Seth, obviously, when he said, like, Vince gave him the word and everything, when he went to break him up for the real time, Seth said that he was still like, oh, I don't want to break up, you know, blah, 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 because he thought it was going to end badly. He thought that one of them or only two of them was going to get a push and leave the other person behind. And he said that he was worried about that because he was just like, all three of us deserve a push. And he felt like if they weren't together, then only one of them was going to get a push at a time. And he thought, like, he did not like that, obviously. And he said, and so Chris asked him, you know, so how do you feel like it turned out? And Seth said, I felt like it turned out great. And he goes, and I'm happy with it. And he goes, even though, you know, we weren't, you know, fans about it at first, he goes, I think it was better this way because now all three of us are getting our singles push. And he says, and all three of us are doing great for ourselves. And I agree with that. So Seth was saying that he was afraid that obviously that they weren't going to be as successful singles, like they weren't going to let them be as successful singles as they were in a group. But I do think that's awesome, though, that he was in his own personal self and he wasn't in character and everything. And this is another thing. I kind of mentioned this on Raw. A lot of people are hating Seth for this, saying that he needs to stay into character and that his whole real personality coming out on interviews is just stupid, and that he needs to like act more like a heel and everything like that. Because even on Twitter, he acts, I don't know, he on Twitter, what he just tweeted about the Slammies, that was obviously a heel. He was in character and everything like that. But he really is just his general self. And a lot of people don't like that because he's a massive heel and he needs to, you know, because Rusev and Lana, they're always in character and everything like that. They have to be. But Seth, he prefers to just, you know. And then he talks about what he carries in his briefcase. This was funny. He says that he says he met some lady, and she didn't know anything about wrestling or nothing like that. And I think he was like getting like checked or something like that, to make sure, going through security and everything like that. And this lady comes up to him, and she kind of looks at him, and she kind of looks at the briefcase, and she goes, "Is there really a monkey in there?" And he goes, "What?" And he like looks at the briefcase again, and he looks at her, and he goes, "Money?" He goes, "No, that says money. That doesn't say monkey." And she goes, "Oh, I thought it said monkey." And he just kind of looked at her like she was crazy. And Chris was just like, "So what do you do? What do you put in there?" And he goes, I don't know, what did he say? He said something about like he'll put his headphones, and what else did he say? Something else that was weird. I think like his razor or something like that. I don't know. He puts two weird things in his briefcase. Well, headphones aren't that weird, but he put that in the briefcase, and he said like something like Dolph. When he checked Dolph's, he said he found two quarters, and what was the other thing? It was like 2 quarters and hair gel or something like that. I don't know. It was funny, but yeah. Then he says that he uses it and everything like that. So I thought that was interesting. And then he talks about Chris kind of talks about how they were kind of like doing house shows together and everything like that. And Chris is just like, we have so much chemistry together and everything like that. He goes, "I noticed like right when you get into the ring, we have so much chemistry." And he goes, "I really like working with you and everything like that." And Seth, he kind of talks about like how he used to watch him back in the day, that he was one of his favorites along with Shawn Michaels and Eddie and everything like that. And he talks about kind of like how he got into wrestling and everything. And he kind of says like, when I was about 4 years old, Hulk Hogan was my favorite. And then when I was in like my teens, it was Shawn Michaels and kind of like Eddie and you. And I thought that was awesome that Chris Jericho was one of his favorites. I don't know if that was just for, sucking up purposes or what, but and he talks about how, and Chris was just like, "So how did you get into like the high flying stuff and everything like that?" And Seth goes, "Well," he goes, "I'm not like a huge guy or anything like that." He goes, "I'm, a pretty average guy and everything like that." And he goes, "This is probably as good as my physique is going to get and everything like that." And he says, "So when I was about, I think he said when he was like 13 or 14, his parents got a divorce. And he said, like, his mom or whatever got him a trampoline because she thought it would, like, I don't know, like, he goes, oh, don't be depressed, jump around on the trampoline." That's what he said. I don't know if that was true or not. But, and he got a trampoline, and he just said, like, he spent out most of his time in his backyard with the trampoline. And he just said he kind of just practiced kind of doing flips and everything on that, and then obviously with the CrossFit, that obviously helps and everything like that too. So that's obviously how he became a high flyer and everything. I actually just recently watched one of his first matches. He was going as Grix, I think that's what they said his ring name was, and he still had the long hair and everything. He was doing the craziest moves off his head. I was just like, I wonder why they don't like. I mean, I kind of get why they don't let you do some of this stuff in WWE because you're more prone to get hurt, and especially with longer matches and everything like that. But he was like barely. I think he was like not even 17. He was like still 16, and he was doing like the craziest stuff. It was like in 2001 or 2003 or something like that, and he was doing like the craziest stuff. It was crazy. So he was obviously always has been a high flyer and everything like that. And what else? It was a great interview. It definitely was. He says it took him back to old times and everything like that. I know there's more stuff that I should talk about. He didn't really talk about how his Dean and him and Dean's feud was, though. He didn't really say anything about, and that's what I kind of wanted him to say, that like him and Dean were still close, but obviously he couldn't say that. But he was definitely out of character. I mean, him saying that he didn't want the Shield to break up and he was completely against it, I loved that. And, you know, people were just like, oh, you know, blah, blah. And I even tried to explain to people that it was the last minute decision. Like, it was made that day by Vince. Like, I think it was like an hour before Raw went on the air. Like, Vince was just like, okay, because of ratings, Seth, you're turning heel tonight. And Seth, I think Seth did talk about this too. Like, he liked it better that all three of them split up than just the two of them splitting up, you know? Like, I think they originally said that it was going to be Roman Reigns going separate and then Seth and Dean being together, but he says he liked it as all three of them splitting up and going their separate ways, so it was just, you know, done and over with. But, yeah, that was pretty much it. It was a good interview, though. Alrighty, let's go to the previous weeks. This was, we'll do NXT first, for November 27th. And really, I already looked at everything and I watched it and everything, so nothing real major happened. Just obviously Charlotte and Sasha Banks getting ready for their thing, and Bayley kind of doing her little thing, and how Charlotte and Bayley are still together now and everything like that. Finn Balor faced Tyson Kidd. I thought that was interesting, and defeated him. So he's kind of being singles a little bit. Maybe they're kind of doing the singles a little bit. And that's pretty much all that happened that week. Nothing too major happened. Let me see. Make sure I'm not forgetting anything. Yeah, I think that was about it. This week's was better. I thought this week's was better. But, and then last week's SmackDown, Daniel Bryan was actually the special guest GM, so obviously this, I guess it continues with the whole week if they have a special guest. I think they said they're going to have one for the every single week until like the GM is announced, like the anonymous, which is obviously the authority. But yeah. But he makes Rusev obviously defend his U.S. title in a battle royal, and he says because obviously he didn't finish the Pledge of Allegiance, and Rusev obviously gets to the very end, and Jack Swagger looks like he's about ready to win. I think he knocked off, I think it was Cesaro or something like that, and then obviously Rusev came up from behind and cheap shotted Jack Swagger and threw him out of the ring, and he still continued his U.S. title, and that obviously makes it so Rusev and Jack Swagger are going to still feud, which I love. I have a big feeling that they are actually going to listen to the fans on this one, and they are going to let Jack Swagger beat Rusev for his undefeated streak. I think that is the perfect choice. Jack Swagger is obviously he was world champion, and yes, I know he wasn't ready for world champion. I still think that was a mistake. But he's a very good wrestler. He has a great physique, good in-ring performer. And with Zeb, too, he's getting the fans behind him. I think this face turn, too, was like the best thing that they could have done for him, too. I know a lot of people, you know, were kind of wearying on his face turn. I'm feeling the face turn. Yeah, Zeb's probably a little bit better but I mean, they're obviously, their whole gimmick is we the people. So I felt like WWE needed to know, like, obviously this is the whole thing is, you know, the United States and everything like that. So obviously they need to be a face, you know, they obviously need to support and everything like that. And the heel thing did work because then they can obviously, you know, say like, oh, immigrants and stuff like that. They're like, oh, you know, you're illegal and everything like that. Where's your passport and all that stuff, blah blah blah. And they did that too and everything. But I feel like their role is better off as faces, and I think Jack Swagger's doing a great job with it. This Rusev and his feud for the U.S. title is great because Jack Swagger, not only is he looking a lot stronger than what he was before when he, feuded with Rusev before, he looks a lot stronger. They're making him look a lot stronger. So, and I know Joe said that he still thinks Ryback is going to beat Rusev. I hope not. Nothing against Ryback, but just Jack Swagger needs this. He really, really needs this because I feel like if Jack Swagger does defeat Rusev, it'll put him back to where he needs to be and back to where people are actually caring about him, because he kind of he had a good face turn and people were caring about him, and now he's kind of he kind of fell into the, he was just kind of floating in air and everything, and they didn't know what to do with him, and so now they're kind of pushing him back up, and I like it. I like it a lot. Alrighty. I guess we can talk about the yeah, that's funny. They kind of talked a little bit about the Brie and Daniel Bryan thing, about how he's been on both shows and Brie has too, and they didn't run into each other or anything like that. The thing is I don't think they're going to do anything with him until either he turns heel, which I don't think he's going to. He's so much over. I think turning Daniel Bryan heel is the biggest mistake in the world. I think he needs to be face. I think for probably the rest of his career, until maybe people start getting sick of him. But you know what the thing is people. I hear that people are already getting sick of Daniel Bryan. So who the hell knows? But Nikki Bella. It was this week, wasn't it? Or it was last week, wasn't it? I'm not going crazy, right? Hold on. I just want to make sure. I don't think I'm going crazy. I think it was the previous week with Nikki's promo, because I definitely want to talk about that. I can't remember. Let me see. Nikki Bella promo. Six days ago. Oh. Yep, it was. It was against Emma. Yep, okay. Yep, it was this week. All right, sorry about that. I just wanted to make sure. Because I know people haven't I know it's been kind of all over the internet just this week. But just these past few days, I didn't know for sure if it was from spoilers or what it was from. But she pretty much, they really cut it down, because I listened to her promo while I looked at the real transcript, and they cut down at least half of what she actually said. And it was ridiculous. They cut down, how she called AJ Lee trashy and everything like that, and how, no one cares about her, and she has to get all these people to like her, and all that stuff. Pretty much anything that was, I guess, I don't know if they cut it down for inappropriateness or if it was just for time purposes. I'm still not sure about that. I'd be interested to find out, though. I don't really think she said anything that bad, especially for a heel. I think it was appropriate. It's not like she talked about Punk. It's not like she talked about anything like that. I could see if maybe she talked about Punk, but she didn't say anything that I felt that was extremely out of content where it needed to be cut. So I think WWE, I don't know if it was just for time purposes or what, but yeah, like I said, Nikki can talk. She's a good heel. This was another, obviously, Kane helping Seth Rollins match. There's nothing really. The New Day made their debut on this SmackDown. the 28th. It's like I said, for right now, their faces. Who they've been faces and how they've been acting our faces. So we'll see. And it looks like the Luke Harper and Dolph Ziggler feud is still going to continue. I thought maybe he was going to do a feud with Eric Rowan, but Eric Rowan's being with Big Show, and so now obviously Dolph's in, which is so fucking stupid. I think Dolph and Seth need to be in the main event at TLC because obviously Dolph has been the last two main events, obviously with Survivor Series and then this past Raw, he's gotten the victory. He's gotten the pinfall. He's won it for everybody. So I think actually the last three, to tell you the truth. But I don't know though if John Cena was the real man, the right away man though. But I know him and John Cena one week, the week before, they pinned Jamie Noble and Joey Mercury at the same time. But Dolph technically won there though too. So it's just, I mean, nothing against Luke Harper or anything either. It's not like, you know, that was anything bad against on his part or anything like he needs to, you know, do his job or anything like that. But because he's a great wrestler. I love Luke Harper. I think he's great. And I like that, you know, him and Dolph are feuding and everything still. But it's just, I think Dolph needs to be in the main event. It's just ridiculous. It's just, they're pushing him and it's just like, nope, not good enough. I just, like, this is what I say, like, no matter what Dolph does, they're always going to treat him like shit. And he's never going to get what he wants and what he deserves. And it's just, that's why I just lost hope with Dolph. I mean, I love Dolph, but it's just like, I don't think he'll ever have the title ever again. And I kind of talked a little bit about this with Raw and said that, you know, it would be good if he got the briefcase one more time and got the title one more time, but even for a short time, I don't even think he's going to do that. Because, I mean, you got Roman Reigns who can get the briefcase. You got Dean Ambrose. You got Bray Wyatt. You got Luke Harper. You got Eric Rowan. You got, I mean, all these new guys that are coming up and all this stuff that are getting pushes and all that. They could get the briefcase. So, alrighty. And that was pretty much it for SmackDown last week. Or the week before, whatever, Thanksgiving week. NXT this week. It looks like Tyson Kidd's kind of taken apart from Justin Gabriel. I'm not sure if they are. I know because obviously Justin Gabriel, it seems like he's a face on the main roster and then he's kind of a heel on NXT, which is bizarre. It's just like, why can't you just make him a heel or a face? You know, it's Tyson Kidd. I mean, he's a heel on both shows. It's just like, why can't you just make him a heel? So he's been kind of teaming with Tyler Breeze. So it seems like Justin Gabriel might be either off NXT, maybe he's going to be fully on the main roster, or which is stupid too because I think that Tyson Kidd and Justin Gabriel could have had a great tag team, and I think that could have been a very I mean, let's be honest here, WWE is lacking tag teams and they desperately need them, so it's just like, why not? But of course they're gonna mess up something else that's good. This was hilarious. I just got done watching this yesterday. Sami Zayn and Adrian Neville promo. It was great. It seemed like Sami Zayn was almost a heel, I guess, in this, but obviously he wasn't. It was just because obviously the fans were cheering, and obviously I think the only reason why he slapped them was it was just pure frustration about how Adrian Neville has been just cheating his way to victories the past few times he's beaten Sami Zayn. And Adrian Neville, he kind of, you know, tries to get into Sami Zayn's head, and he just talks about how, oh, you know, I will not be responsible for you leaving the WWE after this. You know, that's your choice if you don't win because I know I'm going to beat you, you know. So I'm just letting you know right now that's your words. And he goes, I'm not going to be responsible for that. And Sami Zayn gets pissed off and he goes, I don't need you to take care of me. He goes, I'm not your little sister or anything like that. He goes, I want you to, you know, talk to me like a man and everything. And he says, I will beat you and everything like that. And then he slaps him. and it looks like he regrets it. He kind of like stops and then he turns in and kind of paces a little bit. But then and I thought maybe he was going to help him up or something like that. But then he just leaves the ring. And Adrian Neville just kind of looks at him in shock. Obviously, there was no attacking or anything like that. It was just kind of a slap and then almost kind of like, oh, what did I just do? Whatever, you know. So it's almost like Sami Zayn wanted to kind of like show Adrian Neville that he's not taking any more of his games and that he's not, you know, going to feel sorry for him anymore. And it's just like, I want you to know that I'm taking this very seriously and, you know, be ready pretty much. So, and I thought it was awesome. And like I said, they were trying to make Sami Zayn, I feel like, be the heel, the bad guy because he, you know, hit Adrian Neville. But, you know, the fans went crazy. They loved it. And I thought it was awesome. So there's that. Santino Marella was the special guest host, or not host, GM on SmackDown. I love Santino. Like, seriously, I miss him so much. He's just so awesome. It's a shame that he had to retire. He was one of the guys, and me and Joe have talked about this too. He's one of the guys that actually can do the comedy gimmick. He's one of the guys that obviously people don't take for a joke or anything like that. Like he made something work. He made something ridiculous and he made it work. Like the Sheamus Tea Party thing, I still think that will go down as like one of the funniest moments. I still think that was like the most hilarious, especially for recent funny moments for WWE. I still think that's like the most funniest thing I've ever seen. And he makes a few matches and everything like that. Oh, really? I didn't even see this. I didn't even notice this. I guess Michael Cole mentioned CM Punk's name. The announcers, while they were talking about the Vince McMahon interview. It's interesting. Did they win or not? You don't know. It seems like the New Day is just, I don't know. It's just, they're just being weird. So like I said, anything can happen at any possible time. This heel turn can just happen at any possible time or anything. This is a good thing to talk about because I definitely got to talk about this. Because people are probably, I don't know if they're freaking out about this. I wouldn't think they would be because obviously we know it's kayfabe, but just in case, because WWE, I know a lot of times people will be like, oh, it's on WWE.com, so it's true. So, no, I already checked my website. It's not true. Rusev versus Dean Ambrose. Wyatt came out and he attacked Dean and everything like that with the chair, and they said like his I guess like the whole thing, he looked really injured and everything throughout the whole match. And WWE is trying to say that he's got like trauma and everything in his neck and everything like that, and like his neck's messed up, and they don't know what's gonna go on. He's totally not injured. My website said he was completely fine. It's a kayfabe injury. They said that he is not, for right now, he's not taking any time off. He's not like, they're not writing him off for right now. I don't know if they will for next week or what. But, yeah, it's fake. Don't worry, guys. And people were, people said that, they both obviously made it look very good. But this was interesting. Obviously, the Usos making their interesting storyline with Miz and Mizdow. I guess early in the night, Naomi got some roses or whatever in a vase, and Jimmy comes up to her and he goes, I didn't send you those flowers. And she goes, oh, well, I got them. They said they were for me. And Jimmy reads the card or whatever it says on there. And I guess it says, like, my apologies for last week. Sincerely, The Miz or something like that. and Jimmy goes nuts and smashes the vase. And so obviously there was a match between The Miz and his brother Jay. And yeah, so this storyline is just great. It's great. It seriously is so awesome. And it's great to see the Usos actually involved in a certain storyline, because this is like their first real storyline. Because when they were feuding with, Stardust and Goldust, they had no storyline, nothing like that, no promos or anything like that. This makes it great, and I love this. It would make it even better if Maurice came back, because Naomi and her were getting into it on Twitter. So, and obviously, people know The Miz is married and everything like that. So I just think it's funny, though. I think it's good for both of them. It's good for Naomi, and it's good for the Usos. And it's even good for, The Miz and Damian Sandow to get, their first real good feud and a good storyline and everything together. So, yep. Naomi keeps winning, so what they said is they could have a triple threat with Naomi, Nikki Bella versus AJ Lee at TLC instead of just AJ Lee and Naomi, or AJ Lee and Nikki, because they haven't made it official yet, which I would like to. I actually would definitely enjoy that. I mean, it's definitely... See Naomi wrestle. She definitely needs it. I think she needs to be the next Divas champion after this, because I am getting so sick and tired of AJ. She needs to go away. No offense, but she needs to go away. I can't see her having the title again for at least 6 more months. Just please let 2 or 3 people, Divas, have it again before her. Just seriously, give her a break. And Eric Rowan, just awesome. I love seeing him in the ring. He's so good for a big guy, and especially for his age. He's like 42, 43. He's just, the kicks he does for a big guy, the singles thing is doing just great things for him. Me and Joe were so worried, and we took back all we said about him too. We were just like, I don't think he's gonna do good. I don't think he's. And right when we seen him starting to, do the singles competitor matches and everything like that, he's really shown what he can do in the ring. So I think almost the Wyatt family kind of hurt him in a way. I mean, it was a great start, I think, because I don't think, obviously, if he would have just came in as a singles competitor. So I guess I take that back, too, because I think the Wyatt family helped him to get where he is right now, because obviously he's the one that turned face, because they always talked about how there was going to be one face that they turned, and they were talking about how it was going to be Bray Wyatt and everything like that, and it never was. Oh, sorry about that. And, but they ended up turning, obviously, Eric Rowan. And so I feel like if Eric Rowan would have just came into the WWE with, being a face and everything like that, and even if he had the lamb mask and everything like that, people would be like, I don't even know if I would get into his character. I would just kind of be like, with him right now. But now that I know he was from the Wyatt family, and, people were so over with the Wyatt family, and now that he's doing the singles, and this is, he's obviously showing people that they were wrong about him, and that he can do singles, stuff, and he will not be the one that fails, and he's doing a marvelous job. So awesome job for Eric Rowan. Really, really like the guy. And that is pretty much it, guys. Obviously, the Slammies are next week. And, I mean, that's pretty much it. Obviously, there's a couple matches that still need to be confirmed. I think they said, like, something's going to happen with Jack Swagger and Rusev, which is going to make it for the U.S. title. And then maybe the triple threat match for the Divas. And then Big Show and Eric Rowan, they might make that official, too. Maybe it'll be like a chairs match or something like that. Even though that's stupid. I don't like chair matches. Those are just the stupidest thing in the world. I'd rather it just be a regular match. But, yeah. Nothing too big. I will be doing them separate next week because it's NXT TakeOver, so I know that's going to be great. I know NXT is kind of just, they've been having new people on NXT, but like people that I don't even know of. I think they're just like kind of like I wouldn't even call them jobbers. They're just kind of like people that they got for like the week or whatever. Like maybe like random indie wrestlers or stuff they found, and they're just like having them for like a week or two, and then blah blah blah, done, just so they can get squashed and stuff in certain matches. But other than that, I mean, the focus has been on obviously Sami Zayn and Adrian Neville promo of the Charlotte and Sasha Banks, and then maybe Finn Balor and Kenta. That's pretty much it. But yep, I will see you guys in the next one. Like I said, though, TNA I won't be doing probably until the beginning of January whenever they have a regular show. And for TNA or for NXT and SmackDown, I will do them separately next week. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to thumbs up, don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to follow us on Twitter, and don't forget to join our Facebook group, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.